How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Q&A. Today we're joined with Mod Ed.
Hello.
Kieran.
Hello.
Mod Ash.
Hello.
And myself, Mod Archie. We have a very special design stream, or sneak peek rather, of the Infernal Cape going live. Very excited for that. Stay tuned for that. In addition, wanted to mention, of course, the Twitch Prime promo is still going on. You can get a free month of membership if you have Twitch Prime. Very big deal everybody's getting right now, so hop on that if you haven't already. Aside from that, let's hop into the questions. So Finkinator says, can Old School get a Create a Quest competition? Players will have 1 month to write and submit their quest to the JMods. JMods then select their favorites and the community votes.
I think it's we get those suggestions occasionally on Reddit. I see them a number of times. Like someone's written out a full story for Desert Treasure.
Yep.
And this is probably a good way to do it because when obviously those stories are submitted on Reddit, everyone's already spoiled the whole quest and everything that's going to happen.
We would be unlikely to spend a month writing a quest where everyone knew the story and the ending and all the plot twists that could possibly turn up.
Yeah, and I think this could be an interesting way to get the community involved in a quest. But that said, we need time on the schedule to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's unlikely we're going to be popping out any more quests for a bit because Modwolf spent quite a lot of his personal project time on that one, and it wasn't actually a very long quest, fun though it was.
I mean, we've already got a quest that we'd like to work on, right?
The troll one?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd love to, although I'm not precious about it, so there could well be something better out there from the internet.
Don't forget there will be a quest with Fossil Island as well.
Right. There is.
And Modwolf is working on another quest in his spare time, so there are other quests.
Oh yeah, did you say Fremnik, right? Okay, potentially. Anyways, there was enough spam in the chat to justify reintroducing Mod Ed. Well done. We weren't sure if you would notice or not. He did leave us for a while there.
I was gone for a little while. Was it 7 months? Yeah. I think it was. Left mid-September.
So, tell us what you've been doing in the meantime.
Playing RuneScape.
Excellent.
That's a good reason to leave.
Correct answer to a question that probably didn't
ever. And of course, you are QA for us then.
Yes, I am back in QA again.
All right.
That being said,
Mod Bowie.
Yeah.
Mod Bowie is back.
Moving on.
They're not actually selling Bowie that much.
They were. It was there. All right. Ed says, can something be done about the dark beasts in the current catacombs? They don't require the quest that the other dark beasts require. There are only 2 spawns, so half the time is spent waiting for them to respawn, and the area is small, so the Superior Slayer one has a difficult time spawning.
Yes, it's certainly still advantageous to have that quest requirement so that you can go to the other place where they are.
Yeah, and that's why there's only 2. But I think maybe we could remap it a little bit so there's space for the Superior to spawn, but I don't want to put more spawns there because of the quest requirement.
I'd like to get them more space, and also I think we might be able to, I'm not sure whether we can use invisible walls for this, but if we could stop them aggroing aggroing players who are not in their immediate vicinity, that might make them nicer to handle.
It's a nice trade-off, isn't it? Like, if you do the quest, you get all of these great dark beasts. If you don't, well,
you can still fight a couple, but you're never going to get as good.
It's a funny way of doing a quest requirement, but more space would be good for the Superior at the very least.
Okay. Certainly.
It's an awkward wall kit though, that's why I haven't tried doing it myself, because I think this might be one for the actual artists. I don't know if you tried mapping in the catacombs.
No.
If it's anything like the Monkey Madness post-quest caverns, then I think I'll leave that for the artists. Yeah, it doesn't look very good.
By the way, guys, of course, ModRock is grabbing questions from the chat, so go ahead and @RuneScape. Good luck. If you have any questions.
Hey, Rock.
Moving on to the next question then. Steady says, will we ever be able to left-click sharks when fishing? Sharks are way more popular than big nets. It would be a nice quality of life update for us fishers.
You know, introducing a shark spot where there simply wasn't a big net option on the fishing spot would be very easy.
It would.
That would solve that problem.
And obviously well, I don't know how much big net fishing gets done in different places, but if people were okay with, say, not being able to do it anymore in a given place, like the fishing guild, then those could be the ones we did it to.
That sounds like a good idea.
And there'd still be Catherby.
Toggle.
Okay.
And we could multi-NPC them, could we?
We could. Frame rates shouldn't be too badly affected. It feels a bit excessive, though.
It does, yes.
All right, Baratod says, last time we heard of it, double death runes at 99 Rune Crafting had a lot of support, and the mods went to look at the data. Will it be pulled soon?
We did look at the data, and I tweeted out that we had looked at the data, and that the data implied that the data wouldn't be adversely affected by allowing double death runes at 99.
Excellent. I don't think we've actually started a poll since that particular one got hot on Reddit, so...
well, apart from the one today.
Yeah, but we weren't bundling that in Fossil Island.
Yeah, today was a special poll for Fossil Island. If you haven't seen it yet, get to a poll booth and vote on Fossil Island, have your say. But, yeah, we could offer 99 double death runes if we wanted. It also makes sense that we should probably offer lore runes doubled at some point as well, given that they have a lower requirement than death runes to do 1 times.
Is this a big job for a dev, or is it a quick?
No.
Yeah,
No.
Okay. Not at all.
There's no worries for dev.
There's also still the lingering idea about doing the Wrath rune for like surge spells. That instead of using a Blood and Death rune to use surge spells, you'd have a new tier Wrath rune.
How would you make that?
Rune crafting in the traditional way.
New altar.
Yeah, new altar.
Ooh.
It'd be nice if it sank Blood and Deaths a little bit somehow as well, but who knows?
It's funny if we're talking about trying to sync deaths while introducing double deaths. But
well, funnily enough, the death rune price is skyrocketing recently.
Okay, so
that seems apt.
You're likely to see that on a poll in the near future.
So maybe a sync is not so urgently needed.
Question in the chat from Fireskull says, buff the Aram staff. That's not a question. But there was a post on Reddit which kind of surprised me a little bit. I don't know if this is accurate. This guy said he listed the amount of weapons in RuneScape that are better than the Aram staff for offensive magic attack. And
was it just all of them?
Bronze Dagger has plus
260 weapons it was. And he's right, because
why?
He argued that with a Bronze Dagger, you can equip an Arcane Spirit Shield,
oh my God,
which has more magic bonus than the Aram staff, which is two-handed.
Okay.
So, yes. In fact, you could also equip a Mage's Book, which has the same magic accuracy as the staff, I believe. So you don't even need an Arcane, you can go cheap.
So if we simply took the Aram staff as is, didn't change a thing about it except to make it one-handed...
It would be substantially buffed, yeah.
Okay.
Shoot. That would be my preferred way of going about it.
It'd be alright.
Oh, the panic buys right
All
now.
the others are two-handed weapons, I think. But
yeah,
I don't mind.
But consistency with that is not strictly required. I suppose if we made Torag's hammers suddenly become one-handed, that would look hilarious.
Another idea is that it has a dedicated spell, something that only Aram's staff can cast. That would give it use.
The autocast system is pretty flexible for supporting that.
The question is what it'd be and what it'd do. But
if they're talking about surge spells, maybe this isn't the time for another missile spell.
No.
All right. Boulder says, would you consider buffing the Rogue's Den? Currently provides very poor experience rewards in thieving and agility, and getting the outfit can be a complete pain due to duplicates.
On that point, I want to offer that on the next poll. Getting rid of the duplicate thing.
So he's got a few suggestions. One being remove duplicates. That seems like a no-brainer. Offer random gem/cash rewards for reaching the final safe after you've obtained each piece of the outfit, and provide increased agility/thieving experience for completing the course. What do you think?
I don't mind what we give them if they complete that course. There's also the proposal to remove the need to talk to Brian on the way in, so that rather than having to go and get another enchanted, the orange gem thing, just Blink and give it to you.
He's not even near the gate, is he?
Well, there's that, but also if we just handed it to them on the way in, I'm sure the Den can handle that.
Devalues my rogue set. All right.
It'd be nice if we could do some tidying up of the code around there and that sort of thing though as well.
That's a rather unpleasant job, as I recall.
Might be, yes.
Would we poll removing duplicates or just do that? Because I mean, who's?
I think we'd poll it really.
Okay. We polled
the
when it came to the trawler thing and the lumberjack thing, didn't we?
All right. Statue says, can we have a separate block list for Wilderness Slayer? There's so many monsters and most people already used all their slots. So he says, could start with 1 and then 1 more slot for every Wilderness diary you complete.
As long as it doesn't have to go quite to 5, I think, because her list is not as long as many of the other masters. And if you're only using her and you can block 5 of them, then it's going to be a really short list indeed.
One of the nicest things about this update has made very dangerous Wilderness Slayer tasks obviously very popular, and being able to block those doesn't seem...
kind of ruins the point.
Obviously you can
especially with
block
how many
them.
points it's giving out. You don't want to make that too easy.
This one's Deep Wilderness in multi. Not taking it. Like, all right.
You can dedicate your current 5 to them if you really want to block them. But
Okay. A lot of people agreeing in the chat. That's great. Bertho says, can mithril dragons drop a mithril key to grant access to the mithril door in the ancient cavern? There could be a boss similar to Obor.
So, a greater
Obor
mithril
is
dragon
the,
or an adamant dragon.
Giant hill giant kind of thing. So I suppose this would be a uber mithril dragon, or a brutal mithril dragon, or
brutal mithril
or
dragon.
an adamant dragon. I do like the idea of continuing the sequence.
Until we get to dragon.
I actually think that's a great idea. I like that.
Barrow's dragon.
Oh no.
no one... Yeah.
Dragon.
Oh, I knew someone was going to make that joke.
2 people now, yeah.
Keep up, Kieran. What are you playing at?
I mean, through the question marks, I think there's some hype for that. That sounds like an interesting idea. Myth dragons.
They're all about the dragon now.
They might also want to consider what the thing would drop if they got into it. Spaffing resources isn't always the way to go. If they've got a unique thing in mind, this would be a very good time for it.
Good point. Actually, I think he did have in his... I think he had an image suggesting ancient barbarian armors.
Nope.
We'll have to look at the stats after because we can't show the image right now. But potentially those rewards. Follow it up. Anyways, Lord Gozer says, now that our own pets can be left-click to walk here, can this also be true for other people's random events?
Sadly, the engine feature we got for pets only lets us do it for, well, one thing at a time, and the thing we chose was your pet, because that's what the players were asking for at the time. And we're not able to just expand it to cover random events as well, especially as that frog turns up with a whole retinue. So that'll be a matter of going back to... Sorry, is that a dirty word?
No, it's just great.
Sorry. Just checking. So we might have to wait for more engine features before we could offer that one. Sorry.
Where are we? Hexarchy says, can we get the ability to use construction to repair the crashed glider by the dig site so it can be used?
Don't see why not.
Why is it you can't use it? Like, why is it crashed there? Was there a reason?
I haven't the faintest blinking idea, to be honest. It just always was, as far back as I can remember.
Quick.
That's quite a long way.
Create some compelling lore. Go.
I think that particular known pilot is incompetent.
They really should just fire him. I mean, that can be the reason why it no longer happens.
Well,
They've finally got around to firing him.
His job does seem to be standing there sulking for the rest of eternity, so that might be punishment enough. Anyway, the code for those trips is really not that hard after the rewrites I've done to it before, so sounded good to me.
I'd happily change that. This seems
more
redundant
fits,
to stop you from travelling there to the known stronghold.
And we can multi-lock it so that people actually have to unlock this thing rather than just giving it as a freebie.
All right, let's grab them from the chat. I think we like that idea. Elephant says, can the Lumberjack, Angler, and Rogue set be updated to match their respective skill capes?
A graphics question for a couch that have no graphics.
More pressingly, when we've polled changing the appearance of existing high-profile items, it might make a lot of people happy, but it makes a lot of other people very unhappy, and they end up requesting that we introduce a whole new system for letting the thing be toggled back and forth, which is a lot more content work needed for something that's really not a big deal.
If there's plenty of support, perhaps we could ask Mod Ghost when he's on later. But
I think some of them might need some pretty big reworks to make them fit a colour scheme that matches the capes as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Lumberjack does not match the cape at all. That would need some...
It makes you look like a kind of dead zombie type thing, doesn't it?
Not... would take quite a bit of work.
Ultima says, can we see the Holy Book colors changed to match the Ceremon cape? Right now it's difficult to tell between the Holy Book and the Armadyl Book. I think a lot of people were disappointed with what they received when the color was changed.
I think that's on Mod West's to-do list, but I think it's a long to-do list.
Certainly he's got a big dungeon full of demons to do, and a fossil island as well.
But recolors, very important. Unlawful Tomb says, can we just poll Stealing Creation to see how it does in the community? In the poll, mention rewards will not be the same and can be discussed at a later date.
The problem is, we can very easily poll it and see if the community wants it. The problem is that we're locked into having to make it, and it's a big project that we might not be able to fit into the schedule for another year after the poll.
Yeah.
We really need to have some dedicated time for that before we go and offer it into a dev blog and a poll.
If you guys all stop asking for anything else for a year or so, that might give it a better chance.
I think when a lot of people show support for Stealing Creation on like Reddit threads and all that, a lot of them are just thinking of the rewards. The gameplay was fun, but a lot of people were loving those rewards, and that's probably not something we can offer.
There is an issue with minigames, and minigames never seem to come that high on the priority polls. And you look at the example of like Castle Wars. Everyone loved that back in the day, and there ain't that many people playing Castle Wars now, which is an interesting case, because Stealing Creation also had a lot of people playing it back in the day. It was fun. Would that many people go back there again?
Especially if they didn't know what the rewards were, and were open to not getting the rewards.
The big draw of Stealing Creation was rewards. If those rewards weren't there, would people still play it?
So the next question might be, would they accept those rewards? Now it's kind of iffy, that one. Given how many people say don't give those rewards when they ask for Stealing Creation, it sounds like it doesn't have the same level of support for those rewards.
I think, as you said earlier, it's a very good point that we'd have to put off other big projects, as this is a massive project. In addition, if we were to consider anything like this, of course, we'd really need some very balanced rewards that everybody was happy with. So
I prefer Fist of Gothics myself as a minigame.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't so much a fan of that one.
Soul Wars.
Fist of Gothics was designed to try and recreate the sense of 1v1 in the wilderness without a wilderness in those days. Now, of course, we do have a wilderness with single-way areas in it, which means that the need for that gameplay is a little different from what it was in that era.
Interesting that it was designed for that actual purpose.
Well, when the wilderness was taken out in that rather catastrophic update of 2008, the great minds behind it at the time felt that we needed to recreate single-way PvP and multi-way PvP.
Yeah.
Single-way PvP would be recreated by Bounty Hunter, that would be the substitute for it, and multi-way PvP would be replaced in its entirety with Clan Wars.
Yeah.
Clan Wars being the thing where it was always safe and there were no run-ins, certainly on that launch. So, unsurprisingly, a bit later, people like Mod Benny came along and pitched new ideas like Fist of Gothics, which was single-player activity and a little bit more like gameplay than, well, just different to what Bounty Hunter was giving. Given that we do have a wilderness, the demand is different. On the other hand, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And the shields.
I mean, I think that's why I like it. It wasn't the traditional PvP. It did have different gameplay element to it, where you were trying to survive as long as possible rather than trying to kill somebody else when you were playing that role.
Yeah. And how do people feel about them shields?
I like those shields, especially a nice free-to-play reward.
How powerful were they?
I think they were like a very, very, very cheap obsidian shield. I think they had a strength bonus, moderate defense. They looked cool.
Pretty cool. There was that. They had like the dragon gloves, the shark gloves, and that sort of thing as well, I think.
I don't recall. That's a long time ago.
Yeah,
yes,
and the room crafting ones as well.
Yeah. I thought the rewards for that weren't that bad. You had those battle mage robes as well that like half the rune costs and stuff. But you had to like power them up with
regardless, we've stayed on this for a while.
It helps that there's not that many items involved and not so many unique graphics that would have to be the same. Stealing Creation has a lot of graphics involved in it because of all the functional furniture it had. Fist of Gothics, on the other hand, there was very little functional stuff in there, which means that if people didn't expect it to look like it did before, we'd have a much better chance of being able to do it.
It was just a big circular arena, basically.
And if people aren't precious about what colour arena, what shape arena exactly, we don't have to recreate as many models.
Right. Moving on to the Infernal Cape. Hang tight. We'll wait about 10, 15 more minutes. Mod goes to show off the Infernal Cape. For the time being, let's go to the next question then. Seed says, I thought we'd get a Scotizo update today. Is it next week?
I don't remember us ever saying it was going to be today.
Some people were saying so, and I don't think we ever said so. Fake news.
Oh well.
Is it?
No, we haven't set a date for it, I'm afraid. We've got, well, there's a lot of stuff on that poll. We're doing it a bit at a time because some of it takes a while. And yes, Cthulhu will come.
Soon.
Yes.
Soon enough.
I think it's one of those ones where everyone's saving up their stacks, like people were saving up Slayer points to...
Better give them plenty of time to keep saving that
yeah.
up then. We should probably not rush this one.
Question from the chat. Toucan says, can PvP worlds have a kill/death ratio display?
Yep.
They can.
Is that a big project to add that one in? Could we kind of prioritize that?
Did you send this question in?
Why are you
I don't know.
personally pushing this one?
Write that. I'd like to see that. Rigandao says, any chance you could increase the click zone of gargoyles? It's going to be a pain to click on.
I was having a chat with Mod West about that. He's certainly bearing it in mind with the new wyverns he's been working on, and seems okay with, I think, adding additional geometry like shadows to creatures to make there be a predictable bit of click zone down there somewhere. Failing that, a quicker thing is to just stick invisible polygons down there because you don't have to animate it. Like a shadow does have to match what the creature's doing roughly. But I think he seems fine with that kind of job. He's just doing rather a lot of other jobs too right at the moment.
We did just get a new artist, so maybe it'll...
Yeah,
we'll
he's
get
got
there.
some Slayer caves to make as well.
Yeah.
I think he's been working on the Brimhaven update.
All right. Moving along here, Hexa says, can picking up runes already in your rune pouch go straight into your rune pouch? Same with arrows.
I'd like that.
That's a cool one.
We can probably do the bolt pouch too if we... Actually, the code for that thing is not pleasant at the moment, but it's it could be rewritten.
Every time we mention the bolt pouch, there's like 100 people saying, what is a bolt pouch?
What the hell's a bolt pouch?
Yeah, and given the usability, I mean, back in those days, the engine was not as good as it is today, and we today could make a better bolt pouch than the devs back at that time.
That'd be nice.
We spoke about ammo automatically being picked up in the ammo slot a while ago as well, so I'd like to do something with these.
Okay. Ice Cold says, what happened to burning crystals from Cerberus into smoldering stones? Apparently this was an idea brought up a while back. So that was the ability to burn primordial, eternal, whatever, crystals into smoldering stones. What are your thoughts on that?
Just for one? I presume they mean one, right?
I'm assuming duplicates for Iron Man.
Fair enough.
I'm all right with that.
I don't mind. It would just there's the issue that it locks the prices together. Yeah. That's all. But I mean, the boots, I imagine, are always going to be maybe not though.
Well, they're not going to go from smouldering stone back to the crystal.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind. It's all right.
That's the least passionate.
I'm just
it's all right. Maybe.
I don't really get the point, other than for Iron Man, of course.
Yeah.
But for a normal player, you just sell the crystal and buy the one you want.
Yeah. I have a feeling that would have a hard time passing a poll.
Iron Man content frequently does end up like that.
All right. FT Work says, thoughts on creating more item sinks? RuneScape 3's invention skill has really revitalized the economy and made quite a few items not at alch value. I don't think we need invention skill, but we could probably revamp the concept of item sacrifice for access to exclusive areas or a gamble at new items. For example, sacrificing a Barrow's armor piece to get access to a new 7th Brother's grave.
I do like the 7th Brother's grave idea, or sister.
Ooh. I'd love to add a Barrow's sibling.
Here's a couple other ideas. I just wanted to get your opinions on item sinks and whether you think this is needed. What do you guys think?
I like item sinks just on principle for just about any reason. I would expect that the thing you're consuming be reasonably relevant to what you're getting from it. So the Barrows thing that unlocks the additional Barrows feature,
right,
that seems good. If on the other hand they said pay 1,000 mithril plate bodies to enter a new expansion to the Woodcutting Guild, I'd want to know why.
For the Barrows item, I mean, this can be decided later, but it just says sacrificing a Barrows armor piece. Could that be the Carol's Coif, which is like dirt cheap? And then
I think their idea was to drain the unwanted ones out the game, precisely.
Okay.
The other thought that had been sent in recently was a sort of Barrows exchange where you give it a piece of Barrows kit, fully repaired, and it's got a chance of giving you a different Barrows item or nothing, and that would give Iron people a chance to swap the thing they got for a chance at the thing they want, but they'd have a reasonable chance of getting nothing instead. I didn't push the idea at the time, but well, it did come in off the players.
I'm not really a fan of that idea myself. I think part of the challenge is going into Barrows and grinding it out until you get your full set. Yeah. And some people get lucky, some people you get really unlucky, but
Okie day.
It's sort of an enjoyable task to go and do, I think.
Well, I'm certainly not pushing it.
It's asking a lot, obviously. This is already a quite in-depth question as it is. But if you provided, let's say, the names, well, not necessarily the name, but you know what this new Barrows Brother is going to look like, what it's going to offer as a reward, what the set's going to do, etc. If we had all of that and we could offer that, it'd be more of a yes or no. But for now, there's just so many things that could be, you know.
Bob the Builder.
Okay. No. Trant says, can we have the ability to ensure non-tradables? Says, for example, if you get a mutagen and add it to a Serp Helm, but then get hacked and the hacker drops it, could you have the ability to buy back the mutagen from an NPC?
That got pretty wide support on the conversation I was having with the players about it. They seemed keen to expand it to rather a lot of items, and whereas with pets, we could write some fairly simple infrastructure that expands itself as we add more pets. This would need something custom doing for each item that people wanted on it, so we'd be opening ourselves up to, and this item, and this item, and this item, and this version of my Graceful, which has been recoloured with all these add-ons. We would probably not be able to do all the things people would want with it. We could do it for the mutagens, possibly even for something involving Void, and it would have one heck of a deductible when you claim on it, like pets do, if we were to do this.
In terms of the question, it's irrelevant whether you're hacked or not. I'm not trying to, that's unfortunate, but I'm saying, like, we wouldn't be saying only if you're hacked would we allow this.
No.
It would be for anybody who died with it in the wilderness or hacked it by accident. So
that would be very, very sad.
Not a lot of support in the chat regardless. Let's get through a couple more questions before we get into the sneak peek then. Thanks says, can we see faster respawn times for bosses such as Venenatus, Vedion, and Callisto? KBD and Scorpia already have it.
I don't know what their respawn times are.
I don't mind people having to hang around the wilderness a little bit more.
That's part of it. And to be fair, I like that thinking, but the bosses have pretty strong drop tables as well. If you up the kills per hour, you're going to increase how much money you can make an hour.
Yep.
You have an alternative right now. You can hop worlds, which I don't normally like to encourage. It's not fun gameplay when you're at Giant Moor before to hop worlds all the time. We made the respawn faster. But in the wilderness, there's also an element of danger that you can hop into somebody else.
Yes.
Some people saying they're already fast. So.
You really don't wait very long for those.
Yeah.
It's like 30 seconds.
All right. I also
so basically,
like thinking.
The person's impatient.
Well, he's trying not to die.
I think most likely when Modreach made them, he'd have left them on their default respawn time, and that would have been a minute, and then we did the thing where everything got doubled, so it would be half a minute. Which ain't
sounds likely.
Okay. One last question then before we head over to Mod Ghost. Let's go to this one from Time, who says, will Jad/Zar tasks count towards the Inferno?
We were actually talking about this earlier, and what we were thinking is, well, for lore reasons, the creatures in there are not Zar. A Zar task will not apply to them.
Ooh.
And with regards to having a task, I think potentially it's something we could offer in future that once you've defeated the Inferno, you'd be able to buy an unlocked task. for it. This avoids the problem. I mean, I don't want on launch for players to sit and save up to Zartask and go and waste all their points to get Zartask because it gives them the best chance of defeating it. That's not fun. It's annoying, and it's sort of someone's going to almost cheat their way to winning it by having this 15% damage boost.
So by making them do it first, they've had to do it the hard way before they can unlock.
Yeah, so they have to do it the hard way to unlock the task, to be then in future they'll be able to do it from there.
Good idea.
Yeah, I like that, and I think it's a good solution. But it'd be a separate task as that, basically.
Okay, cool. That being said, we might be ready to head over to the sneak peek of the week with Mod Ghost. You guys ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's head over then.
Hi, right, so I'm Mod Ghost.
I'm Mod Rye.
Okay, and last week we were working on the Infernal Cape and a bit of this week as well. So we'll start off with a brief history of the Fire Cape and some of the technical challenges we encountered whilst doing this. So I've just got a series of slides. I'll just give you a quick look at this. So you can see the Fire Cape here. It doesn't look overly bright and vibrant, does it?
No, it doesn't, no.
So if I just show you the original Fire Cape texture, I've just got a few slides, you can see how vibrant that texture is just there compared to this image of the Fire Cape next to it. Now the reason for that is because the players in our game have one light which actually shines on them as opposed to the environment. Each character has its own light basically.
Yeah.
So that light's the front of the player, just here, and the back of the player you can see is extremely dark. So this is the cape worn on the back. To the left and to the right, we've actually got one of the capes which has been placed on the front of the player, which looks a lot more vibrant, and you can actually see the texture standing out a lot more. So if we move to the next slide, this is something that we created, isn't it?
Yes, so the image on the left is taken straight out of Photoshop. It's not been adjusted or tampered with in any way. The one on the right is when that's taken into Engine, when it's placed on the back of the character.
Cool. So there are ways to get around this. So what I did with the Max Cape was I actually duplicated the geometry and then rotated it round. And you can see these crosses just here on the image. Those are the sort of vertices on the edge of this square. And when you join them together, you take 50% of the light from the front of the player and you place it onto the back. So you can see the difference in these two textures. We've got a very dark one here, then we add 50% light from the front, and you can see it brightens it up a lot more. So if we just go back to here, I'm just going to reduce this game window, and this is what we've actually got for the Infernal Cape now. So let's just go to the editor. Right, so if we zoom out, part of the design techniques that we employed for this is you can actually see the Fire Cape there looks really busy, almost like cheese on toast from a distance, I always think.
Yeah, the bean cape.
Yeah, that's it. So we decided to make the shapes a lot more readable and a lot more recognisable by making everything a lot bigger. So if I just kind of rotate round, you can just have a look up close. So these are actually like these big sort of chunks of lava. With this sort of like glowing light in between them, they've kind of cooled off a bit. And with the collar as well, we kind of kept it nice and simple, didn't we, as well? Mm-hmm. We didn't want to make anything that's too sort of over the top, because when we looked at player feedback previously, we basically decided that everyone was going for the more traditional looking capes, and whilst people did want like a newer design, it was kind of like if we added up all the votes for the more traditional ones, probably about 60% of people wanted the more traditional ones, and about 30 to 40% wanted the sort of like newer style. So to actually match the aesthetic of old school, we feel it's better to be sort of faithful to the original sort of design of the Fire Cape and just go for something that kind of keeps the silhouette, has a slightly more interesting, exciting texture and a slightly larger collar, but nothing too flamboyant. So if we go into game, we can show you what this looks like in game now. So we've actually slowed the texture down, so it feels a lot heavier when it moves, as opposed to this one just here, which moves quite fast. So it's easier to read on the eye. You can see the inside lining of the cape is kind of a sort of darker colour to match your sort of like melee outfit, as opposed to this sort of red just here. And if we just chuck on the Serpentine helm as well, you kind of see it all looks like it kind of fits together for sort of the max melee players that will be after this cape. So we'll leave that with you, and we'll be getting some feedback on the usual social media channels, and we'll be reacting to it over the weekend, and hopefully we can give you some more information tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Just to say something, I think had we just given them the cape without an explanation, I don't know, I don't think it would have gone down nearly as well. Hearing that explanation, I think the best reasoning I heard was, you know, when the Fire Cape was originally released back in 2006, we didn't have the zoom feature, so you were always zoomed in quite a bit, and of course you were that close to it. Whereas now, where we are now, a lot of players prefer to play a little bit more zoomed out, and it does look, you know, it looks worse, frankly. So making those sections on the back larger makes a lot of sense.
That's cool. Hopefully next week when we put out more of a sort of update on the sort of technical side of things that we've been doing, I think it's around Wednesday, we'll be able to sort of go into it in more detail and actually explore the limitations that we've got within the engines and how we're kind of tackling them moving forward with graphics.
Yeah, awesome.
Mod Ghost's been on that for quite a long time. I saw him on Sunday, no, on Bank Holiday Monday I think it was. It was a day off, so the office was quiet, and he seemed to be doing quite a lot of experimenting to see what he could do with the lighting on textures to get the colour people were looking for, and without, despite the lighting, and putting together the colour swatch texture to test it with. That was quite a lot of work gone into making something that really looks very straightforward, but under the hood it actually isn't. No pun intended.
Also, something like this, as we know, working with this game for quite a while now, it's impossible to please the entire community with stuff like this. We try to please as many people as possible. This is possibly one of the most controversial things we've ever put in the game in terms of design and how it looks. Some of our older players think, oh, well, I want it to look exactly like the original Fire Cape, don't change it much at all. And we have a big chunk of the players who are newer who want it to look a little bit, you know, more refreshing, like something else. So being able to appeal to both those communities is impossible, maybe?
Yeah, I think like everyone's going to have their own opinion on how things should look. That's just the subjective nature of art. But what I want to try and give people is an understanding of what we can actually achieve in games. It's not always possible to produce what's in people's heads. We just kind of have to work with what we've got and produce the best asset for our engine.
I would, however, like to look at getting an outfit that lets you look like the character who was wearing that in the demo. That was quite a striking looking figure. Or the fire apron.
It's kind of like someone that's made out of bread dough or something, doesn't it? It's very strange.
Put me in mind of the ghouls outside the Mauritania Slayer Tower, in fact.
All right, so that is the Infernal Cape then. Again, they're gathering feedback, and in fact, you'll be doing an Infernal design live stream next Thursday. Mud Ghost?
Indeed, yes, I'll be designing one more of the NPCs that you'll be battling during the Inferno.
So plenty of Inferno stuff along the way. That being said, let's move on to something else, being Fossil Island. This question is asking, so seeing as how Fossil Island is likely to pass, I think everything in the poll, obviously it's only been a few hours, but everything's looking very, very strong. Did this go as you guys expected? Anything unexpected there, or?
I'm shocked at how high Fossil Island is. I mean, I think it was, the last time I checked the poll, it was like 92%. I didn't expect it to do that well, but yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff on it. I thought it might be a bit closer with one or two of the skilling features, but they seem to have been well over the threshold from what we saw before we came down here.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on that blog. I think it's one of the best received dev blogs we've done in a while. So
it's really nice to see, especially since there's obviously been quite a bit of work gone into it so far. It's nice to see that's not wasted.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that whatever players thought of the island, there'd have still been the interest in hardwood farming patches, which has been knocking about for quite a long time as a request. And the new kind of compost, well, I can't see people not wanting that kind of thing so much.
The extremely fertile volcanic ash.
Yes, as you beautifully put it at Runefest, I believe.
There's another question in the chat asking if, was it selling Infernal Capes will be allowed? That is 100% against the rules. Trust me, you don't want to be doing that.
It also sounds like a fairly easy way to get yourself hijacked. If you let somebody else use your account to do that kind of thing.
You won't have the account when it's over. Don't do it. Muck says, can you remove the message saying you aren't eligible for loot as an Iron Man whilst playing Pest Control, as it isn't necessary?
It's using the same script aside that you get, zeal points, and it counts towards whether you showed enough zeal in the fight. I think we'll probably have to see whether we can use something else to determine that fairly. It might be possible to put an override into the script to just make it not give the message in certain circumstances, but it'll have a lot less information available to it about what your circumstance is at the time. Anyway, so should be possible.
Okay. Another one in the chat saying, will the Inferno have another reward other than the cape, similar to the killing with the Onyx?
It'll give you Tockle, but that's it.
Nice.
No Onyx.
Hey, if they've got any suggestions about new items they'd like to see introduced, then we're always interested in new items, of course.
All right. Jack says, on skill capes, could the teleport option be made the first option instead of the trim/boost when equipped? It's the first option when it's in your inventory.
You better not misclick it then. Well, I suppose it'd still be, it would still have unequip above it even then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the order doesn't really matter to us.
No, it doesn't. Well, it's been that way for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that are used to its current location, but if it passes the poll, then I have no issue with it.
Saw my Matt K in the chat.
Ooh.
Hopefully he's enjoying his holiday.
He did ask why Boaty's on the stream. Saw that.
We don't laugh at his jokes.
No. He only encourages them.
PM says, can the Harmony Island herb patch get some sort of buff? It's currently the hardest patch to obtain, and there is nothing significant about it. And the recent Slayer Tower buff devalued the Mauritania Elite Diary.
Well, despite it, you're still getting more Slayer XP from the Elite Diary. But you know how my arms patch is protected, which sounds very strange out of context. I don't think we ever did anything of the sort to the Harmony one, but we could.
Yeah.
So here's a couple suggestions, or somebody else suggested. Either being extra yield or disease-free.
Well, the disease-free is having it kind of protected the way my arm protects that patch. So we could go into that kind of thing.
I think going for the extra yield option could be interesting. To offer something different at that one. Mm-hmm. That could be nice.
Mm. Okay, one for discussion, I guess. See what the community thinks. Both sound nice. Hugo says, when you blood barrage the Kraken boss, he goes invisible for a tick. Can this be fixed?
That would need the polygon count to be reduced for the creature. That sounds like the problem you get when it plus the blood effect hits the polygon count. So either we get the artist to try and remodel the spell effect to reduce its polygons, or we get them to look at the creature to reduce its polygons. I suspect changing the creature would be preferable to changing the spell, since the spell is used so much elsewhere, and the creature is more self-contained.
I'm surprised it's got such a high body count, the creature.
It was modelled a very long time ago, and they may not have been trying as hard to keep the polys down at that point. Also, it was a quest boss, so it was when that model was made.
Okay. Sweep says, with the rate of limps/whiteberries being reduced from the likes of Kurasks and Nex, Neckrils.
Oh, those.
That wasn't a with, it was a will. Will the rate of limps be reduced from the likes of Kurasks and Nex? So he says, limps crashed since the Slayer update and it's become pointless to farm them. They've gone from 2.5k to 250 each. I think he's asking if you can remove them from the drop table or perhaps reduce their drop rate.
It might be appropriate to do that, yeah. I think we can reduce the quantities. I wouldn't remove them completely, but we can take the quantities down so it has less of an impact there.
How many does Obor drop?
I'm not sure.
Obor was more of a problem in terms of people farming giants to get the key to get to Obor in the first place and getting a buttload of Limpwoods while they were about it, which didn't help.
I thought it was after the release of Obor that limps just crashed.
There was an element of Limpwoods are very expensive compared to most other secondaries of around that tier. So I mean, there was an element of that price should probably come down a little bit, but 250 from 2.5K is obviously a substantial decrease.
Right.
So, yeah, we can look at the rates of those items coming in game. We've got all that data tracked, so we can analyze it properly and come up with what we want to do.
Okay. Prestige says, last week Kieran talked about group Ironman. I think it'd be a great addition to the game. Predetermine your partner/group on Tutorial Island, and only you can trade with them. Is there any chance of this happening?
If Kieran was talking about it, I imagine he explained what was restricting us from doing it.
Yeah, so as much as it sounds like a great idea, the main restriction is that currently we can't actually remember permanently who your partner is over a logout. So it requires engine support, and from what I gather, it's not a straightforward engine job either to supply us with this. But maybe one day. I mean, I really like this idea, and certainly the more support behind this idea, the more we can justify getting the time out of the engine team to do this.
Especially super useful for other things. The thing that we're missing is the ability to use 64-bit unique identifiers in our scripting language. Now, that I think got added around 2009 to the game, but it was a pretty substantial job because when all the variables had previously been 32-bit, suddenly having double length ones knocking about was a very big change for the engine team to install. But if we got it, there's a lot of stuff we'd want to do with it. Slayer partners, for example, they're very limited for this exact same reason. And the bounty hunter activity could be a bit nicer code as well.
Some people saying that's not really Iron Man, what's the point? I'd argue there should have to be a limit, obviously.
Yeah.
What would you think that limit would be?
This is the funny thing, like, it does sort of go against Iron Man in that, but even with a big by yourself, but the feel of the game, playing with just a couple of friends, and one person be able to do the fishing, and one person training up their cooking, and they move back onto fishing, you know, like, that's cool, and it's for fun, and I think it's arguably, for me, would be one of the most fun ways you can play with your friends on the game. But yeah, it's
Kieran,
tricky.
What if you don't have any friends?
Well, there's still...
It's still Iron Man, I mean...
And also, even if, it's not exactly the same as an Iron Man, so we might call it something like Alloy Man.
I mean...
I saw on Reddit earlier, what was it? Was it Clay Man?
Yeah.
You're not quite ready for Iron Man, you just need a...
Bronze Man.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, 2-player is obviously...
That's ideal,
the ideal number. I did see requests for doing it into like groups of 5. I don't think
We might
that
have
becomes
trouble
more
doing it for anything that
difficult.
isn't one more, because once you try and write for 3 players in our language, it gets complicated.
You start getting into the
don't
realm
know.
of clan territory with
I feel
bigger
like-
groups, I think.
If we launched this, there would be so many people on Tutorial Island making these accounts, and there would just be like this like matchmaking group where it'd be like, I need a friend, I also need a friend. All right.
Hello, a friend.
I could see it going all right, but realistically, I think we've only released new man modes or whatever we want to call them around the time of like October each year. So we've got a while yet until we absolutely need, if we want to continue to stick to that schedule at least.
I suspect that hardcore Ultimate Iron Person mode might be a relatively easy win, and it comes up rather a lot and doesn't require quite so much in the way of engine features. On the other hand, I do like Dio Iron mode, Alloy mode, whatever we want to call
It's
it.
awesome.
Iron Buddies.
Clan Man
That
mode.
sounds awful. What? Yeah. Of course, they said that on Tutorial Island you set it up and then you're locked to that player for life. We'd probably have to have some way that you could change your partner after a long time.
What happens if your partner quits?
Yeah, because then you'd be all by yourself.
You just become an Iron Man, don't you?
Yeah, it's
But
not
yeah,
something we're going to forget
it's a
about.
big engine job, and the engine team are quite busy on other projects.
Many of which are things that you guys asked for as well.
Yeah, you might hear about one in the next couple of weeks, which will be exciting.
Moving on then, where are we at here?
Magnet Man mode. Iron that attracts another iron.
I like it.
Wow.
Sorted.
All right. Nova says, have you thought about adding a hunter skilling boss? A group of players hunting some massive creature would be awesome.
I'd be interested to know how you hunt a big thing as a collaborative group.
Is that a big trap?
That's more a construction skilling boss than you're just building a trap.
Well, we've got the pits that you try and lure the grachs and Larupians
Dig a
over.
massive hole.
Yes.
The Hunter Todd.
Jaeger Todd, I
you
think
guys
that
are
would
quick.
be.
Quick with the memes. Let's grab one from the chat. Will they allow us to combine the Max Cape with the Infernal Cape?
Yes, this is something that wasn't mentioned just before, but there will be a Max Cape variant of the Infernal Cape. As I mean, the original intention when we did the versions of the Max Cape were you get one for the best in slot melee, best in slot mage, best in slot range. Because we're releasing a new best in slot melee cape, it makes sense to offer that. Yeah, so you'll be able to do that.
Okay.
And we'll show off the graphics for that at some point when it's ready, but it's not. It wasn't in the same state as like the Infernal Cape is.
Well, they've spent a lot of that time trying to even get the texture in the first place. Having got the texture, it may become easier for them to do more things with it.
Another interesting thing for the Inferno, as we've mentioned before, we're having a lot of our biggest content creators in the office in a few weeks' time. One of the things they're going to get to try is the Inferno, of course. Now, we're not going to let them live stream it because we don't want to give away the mechanics or anything like that, but we might be able to tease a little bit through that. Obviously, we can't. We simply cannot show any of the mechanics. We don't want you guys to have any advantages. But you'll probably see.
Just set up a camera pointing at their face and just watch their reactions.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Just watch them scream. Probably have to pre-record it because there might be some
Alfie's
expletives
going,
in
so
there.
We'll get the big nose.
Alfie's coming.
Yeah.
Alfie had a big
Alfie
nose.
rules.
I don't remember him having a... Oh, I see. Big nose. Oh.
I saw Ronan's reaction earlier when he played it. He was confident.
I killed it.
He didn't
you
kill
didn't.
it. He's an absolute liar.
If Ronan
He
killed
barely
it,
made any progress at all.
Also, killing it with JMod hacks does not count.
okay.
They seem interested in to know who's coming.
Oh boy. I'm definitely not going to listen because I'm going to forget somebody and then I'm going to be a bad person. So, 3 weeks time. There you go. You'll figure it out. It'll be a fantastic stream. We'll be streaming quite a bit of their visit. Moving on, we have a couple of images with suggestions I'd like to get through before we run out of time. The first one being from Kel. He says, farming suggestion. Don't know if we'll get it on the screen, but you can see if you like.
So it's on the Geomancy spell, it tells you that the patch has already been resurrected once, if it has been, which I'm totally in favour of. I think when a player asked me about that just yesterday, and the answer I gave at the time, which I will happily give again, is that with Maz doing quite a lot of stuff to the Geomancy spell to tie in the new patches for Fossil Island, this really isn't a great time to have unrelated stuff going on in the same bit of code because you get conflicts. So maybe not right now, but I do like the idea. And, oh no, that's something else.
We can move on to the second question if you like.
Temporary host.
Shh. I'll let you handle this one. You're better at this.
Schmilish says teleport scroll storage. Have we got that image? Sorry? We do? Fantastic. There you go. You guys can see it. Again, it's the Master Scroll book being a potential Master Clue reward to store our numerous teleport scrolls from other clue chests. The book would alleviate a little more bank space as well as be a major convenience while doing clues. Oh, a lot of support for this one. Maybe not the image, I don't know. Is that a good picture of a book?
So then all the scrolls you get from the clues, you could put in this one item.
To be honest, I think the image is immaterial because the size of an actual book in game is quite small anyway.
I think that's a cool
Wow.
idea. Would you be able to access all the teleports from it, or would you take them out? I imagine when you click it, you'd open up an interface where you can select which one you want to teleport with. You would sort of lose the one-click behaviour that you have on the scrolls themselves, but if you can put them in, take them out whenever you want.
I see
Seems good to me.
it'd be 100 Master Clue reward.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. But traditionally they have been cosmetic. I don't mind too much.
I'm alright with one that isn't because, you know, we don't have a huge number that we're being consistent with.
Yeah, I think it's a fair reward, really.
Okay.
And we can, you know, make it offer a menu, maybe adapt the design of the jewellery, the PH jewellery thing.
Everyone loves the idea until they find out they have to do 100 masters.
I think it is a steep cost for what it is, but Yeah.
At least there'll be something for doing 100 masters.
Come up with a suggestion for where you would like it to come from, if not there.
A shop in Lumbridge. No?
The general store.
Maybe it could be a treasure trove reward.
Could be. That's a good idea.
All right, it's a good idea regardless.
Or you trade 1,000 limpwort roots for it.
And circles. Speaking of circles, I'm going to go to this question. Anonymous, I'll call him Anonymous, says, on the Q&A a few weeks ago, there was a suggestion for a warrior ring buff. Have you had any more thoughts on a buff? There is demand for a buff. I don't always do this, but sometimes, in instances like this, I decided to do a little investigating, checked out his account. He had 210 warrior rings, 250 obby mulls, and 520 circles. So no, we're not buffing it.
In fact, just for that guy, they're getting nerfed.
No, I own one.
Yes, so we are planning on reducing the Seagull's alc price to 5 GP. And this is, right, okay, from now on, we're never taking any Seagull buffs seriously.
I just said to myself, like, this guy asks this all the time. We've already answered it. How many warrior rings does he have? Oh, look, here's his name. 210.
We joked about it all the time, didn't we? And
Yeah.
oh my god.
All right. We've got a couple more questions then. Black Fishy says, can the Slayer staff enchanted be able to be charged with runes like the Trident?
Yes.
Would we like to do it?
I think we talked about it just before launch, not soon enough before launch that we'd have been able to actually do it without postponing the update, but we also figured it was a fairly safe thing to bolt on afterwards, so we thought we'd be fine with it. The question was really whether people wanted it to be equipped and start casting like the Trident does without you going through the autocast menu, or whether people just wanted to store the runes inside it in the same way they store the charges of the charge scroll. We could do either. It would be quite a big departure, of course, if we did go the route of turning it into an actual Trident. We'd have to probably disable it in PvP. Not that anyone's really using it in PvP, but we'd have to apply all the same restrictions that a Trident has.
The upgraded spell only works on Slayer tests.
That's why I don't think anyone's using it in PvP.
Yeah. It would still cast the regular Slayer dart otherwise.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't tie into that one when I added the enchanted version.
I don't think it's too bad if it was a left-click wield and that's it.
Yeah. So we just have to apply the same restrictions to a Trident as Trident has. I don't see a problem with that off the top of my head. I just didn't want to try and do it the night before the update because that's the kind of thing that would have gone quite badly wrong if I rushed it.
Okay. Urical says, can the horrible delay when moving around in Tears of Guthix be removed?
Is that the horrible delay, but is just the delay you get when moving around?
Well,
Everywhere.
some of it's that when you are finishing, when you're coming away from one of the walls, it tries to animate you leaning back,
Oh, that bit,
and
yeah.
During that, I think clicks are ignored, and you won't be moving. Also, movements themselves tend to stall your walk animation, so that's going on as well. We could probably do it some other way if people just didn't mind that they snapped out of the gathering stance and into walking without any transition. I bet they'd be all right with that.
Yeah, a lot of yeses in the chat.
Fun with that.
It's because I think the main issue, I mean, I can see why it was done, obviously, for that transition, but it just feels unresponsive because of it, and that's not a nice feeling when you play the content.
There's a reason we tend not to do those transitions, and we certainly don't put delays when we write content these days.
Yeah.
No, I did it that way, so you will too.
Oh, is that how people actually think?
That's a new meme. It's good. Okay, a few final notes we have to mention before concluding the stream today. One, obviously, Fossil Island is being pulled right now. Go ahead and have your say if you haven't already. Two, we've already mentioned the Inferno NPC design stream being a massive 6-hour Inferno design stream next week, Thursday. And then, of course, Twitch Prime, again, currently, if you have a Twitch Prime membership, you can get a free month membership with RuneScape, support your favorite streamers, fantastic. Go ahead and take advantage of it if you haven't already. And that is about it for the stream today. Final notes, of course, we've got Mod Ed back.
Welcome back.
Pretty great.
Thanks, Kieran.
Apart from that, guys, well, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.